This is TWiT.
So, Scott, I thought we'd kind of dive in piece by piece here and talk about the companies that I know we are all very familiar with for a number of different reasons. And I really appreciated how you broke down each company to their core strength, or rather the thing that we as users, as people who use their products, the thing that appeals to us or seems to appeal to us so much. With Apple, for instance, you say they are a luxury brand. That wasn't always the case, though. They weren't always the luxury brand or the brand that everybody had to have, a status symbol or whatever. When do you think it really kind of crossed that line from being just a computer product, a technology company, into being the luxury brand that we know today?
So Apple, in a genius decision, decided they no longer wanted to be the best house in a bad neighborhood, computer hardware, which is low margin and exceptionally competitive, that they wanted to be the best house and the best business in the world. And the best business in the world is not technology. If you take the Forbes 400 wealthiest people in the world and you take out inherited wealth and finance, the sector that's created more wealth and more billionaires is retail and luxury. Appealing to people's irrational desire to be attractive to others so they can procreate results in irrational decisions, which translates to incredible margins. The second wealthiest family in New York is the Lauders. The wealthiest man in Europe is Bernard Arnault. Number 2 and 3 are the scions of H&M and Zara, which again help young people feel like better about themselves and hopefully more attractive to other mates. So Apple said, we're going to be a luxury brand. And the way the offering of a luxury brand, there's 2 benefits. You feel closer to God. We're used to going into places of worship to see beautiful chalices, frescoes, well adorned people singing beautiful music, or you feel more attractive to the other sex. And so they decided we're a luxury brand. And what do you have to do with a luxury brand? You have to have an iconic founder that personifies the brand. You have to have artisanship at the center of your products that make things beautiful. You have to have vertical distribution and control your distribution and build these temples to the brand. You have to do print advertising. You have to look at product launches. These aren't product launches. They're fashion shows, including supermodels, Christy Turlington, highlighting the product. This is literally a company that has torn a page from the playbook of luxury and has achieved the impossible. Jason, they're a company that is not only the low-cost leader, goes into the supply chain and secures components for the lowest price, but the premium price product. This is the equivalent of an auto brand that has the pricing or margins of Ferrari with the production volumes of Toyota. And as a result, Apple will do double the profits this quarter that Amazon has done in its entire history. IBM, Oracle, HP, you still combine all the profits of all those companies, you still don't get the profit of Apple. They have pulled off the impossible by becoming a luxury brand. Yeah, and it's interesting. Today, of course, is the official kind of release of the iPhone X, which is their latest and greatest device, or so they would say. And I was on Twitter earlier this morning, and I saw a video that was snapped outside an Apple store, and everybody that was waiting in line, of course, because there were lines for this phone, was running in like a scene from Rocky. Everybody's applauding them, clapping, cheering them on. Yeah. Confirmation that they've made the right choice. That, and when you talk about in the book, you draw the correlation between iPhone and sex and being appealing and all that sort of stuff. It just really reminded me of that particular scenario where it's confirmation for people who identify with that brand, and it's saying you made the right choice. So I noticed neither of us are wearing watches, but people, especially men who wear very expensive watches, oftentimes, I think a third of them don't even wind them. What they're really saying is they're saying to potential mates that if you mate with me, your kids are more likely to survive than if you mate with someone wearing a Swatch watch, because I have the power and elegance to spend $11,000 on $1,800 worth of steel, plastic, and leather in a movements casing. And luxury items signal you have good genes and you're a worthy mate. The new signal that you have good genes is that you are part of the innovation class, you have an appreciation for design, and you're wealthy. Specifically, you have an Apple phone. If you go into wealthy neighborhoods and look at a mobile phone operating system, it's all New York, Manhattan, the wealthiest neighborhoods in every city light up all iOS. You go into the red states, you go into rural communities, lower income households, it's all Android. Just as paying with a Discover card or having ad-supported Pandora says you have bad genes, do not mate with me, this says I have good genes, mate with me. And people will pay a lot of money and wait in line for a long time to feel more attractive and feel like they are part of the innovation class, and that they're more likely to have a greater selection of mates. I think it goes very deep to our instincts.
How did Apple accomplish this, though? I mean, there's a level of worship almost that Apple enjoys. Kind of exactly what I was talking about with the video I saw. What did they do that other companies don't do nearly as well?
So Apple has created, and almost every study, no matter who it is, Interbrand, anybody else, with the ranking of global brand equity, number one is always Apple. So the question is, how did Apple achieve this unbelievable halo that results in operating margins that you could, simply put are irrational? And the one move, probably the one business decision that created more shareholder value than any decision in the world. If you ask people to name that, most people would say it was Apple's decision to launch an iPhone. And I would argue they have the brand correct, but the decision wrong. Apple's decision, so let's back up. Samsung analog, Samsung spends double what Apple spends on advertising, adjusted for top-line revenue growth. And you say, well, Apple's smarter. They must spend it on online marketing. No, they spend less than their competitors in online marketing. So the question is, what are they doing with the billions of dollars in capital? How are they reallocating their capital to create the strongest brand in the world? And the answer is, Steve Jobs asked his board to make this irrational, crazy decision and got licensed to reallocate $4 to $6 billion into stores. And now that sounds like conventional wisdom, and it makes a lot of sense. But can you imagine in 2002, just coming out of the dot bomb, when e-commerce was really starting to get steam and people were saying stores are dead, to go in and say, we're going to take billions of dollars out of traditional broadcast media, we're going to take billions of dollars out of search and banner advertising, and we're going to open stores? But opening these temples to the brand where people actually consummate the relationship is incredibly powerful. And when you consummate the relationship with Apple in an Apple store, it's like having a first physical encounter with Tom Brady or Gisele. You're going to find everything they do funny and cute. You're going to find reasons to get along with their parents. When you have that first physical interaction with a Samsung phone, it's with a guy named Roy in a badly lit Verizon or AT&T store, and he is going to begin to bother you. And you're going to start thinking about having relationships with other brands, or you're going to be susceptible to it. So Apple's decision to forward integrate and create these unbelievable temples to the brand and take greater control of their distribution is probably the most value-creating business decision in history. I work with a bunch of big brands, whether I don't care if you're P&G, Rolex, Nike, Samsung, they all have the same imperative over the next 10 years, and that's to take their percentage direct-to-consumer distribution or controlled distribution from 2 or 8 or 10% to 30 or 50%, or they will not be able to maintain those irrational margins. Show me a product being sold in Best Buy, and I'll show you a product that's not getting the margins of anything that's sold in an Apple store.